Welcome to 52 Needs, and this week we're talking about beauty. And I'm ecstatic to have with me the beautiful Fiona Lindberg, who has been professional portrait photographer for over 20 years. She started in kindergarten, obviously.
Yeah, right.
She has worked through GFCs, industry leveling, tech revolutions, motherhood, and 4 international moves. Having developed successful studios in Sydney, New Zealand, and now Brisbane over the last 10 years, she has learned what it takes to stand out in your market, and attract your ideal client whilst being a working creative. Fiona uses her own knowledge of this journey to help her take her clients through a deep dive into their own personal branding world in order to deliver authentic, congruent imagery that elevates people's profile. Welcome, Fiona. It's lovely to see you.
Well, it's lovely to be here chatting with you in this context,
And
Angela.
this time we're both in front of the camera.
Yay!
Okay, so let's talk beauty at work. So, as far as I can see, there are two aspects. There's the beauty of our environment, and then there is our own beauty.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. So, in terms of what do you do to bring beauty to your work environment?
Well, I was going to ask you that question, but hey, I have worked in environments that were absolutely. I worked in for at one point I worked in an office that was in a basement just with
Oh,
fluorescent lighting, and there was
oh,
no, and it was a storage space at the same time.
oh my goodness.
And since then, I've always aimed to have some beauty around me, and that could be pot plants, paintings,
Yeah.
putting some nice things on my desk. I mean, I always have my my tiara that
Yeah,
I can use to say
that's
life is
awesome.
terrible or life is beautiful, depending.
Love it.
And just make sure. And again, I love books,
Yeah.
so that's one of my things. What about you?
Yeah, the exact same. I think, working with the light for so long and being able to see beautiful light wherever I am, for me, it's all about funneling and capturing and, controlling beautiful light. So you can probably see behind me is my studio space, and it is just absolutely, there is light pouring in
Yeah.
from everywhere. I find that really vitalizing when I'm in my studio, feels like a sanctuary.
Yeah.
And I have all my little bits and bobs around, like I've got vintage glass jars with feathers in it instead of flowers. And on my desk, I have like crystals and vintage keys and little carved wooden mushrooms and crazy stuff that I've
Yeah.
collected that just makes me feel like I'm in my own space and I'm not in a pragmatic kind of oppressive. It's still an artist space. It's still a creative space, and it nurtures me, all those little things. Yeah.
Okay, well, not everybody has that benefit. I mean, there are people in offices who work in hot desks. They can't really take anything around it. When I talked with my friend Sabrina about inspiration, and we talked about this, like what could you do to bring inspiration into your workspace? We talked about putting something on your desk that inspires you.
Yeah,
You could equally do this with something that you find beautiful and take that with you whenever you're hot desking somewhere.
absolutely.
Then there, hmm?
One of my favorite things to see on people's desks obviously is a photograph, because
Hmm.
I think it is that classic thing where even though you're in an environment, and oftentimes now you get a lot of people who are like fly in fly out kind of workers, they are literally away from their home, their
Yeah.
country, their language, the meals that they normally eat, their bed, their family, the people they love. And just that, having, if you could have one thing on your desk, oftentimes for me, what I've noticed, because obviously I'm drawn to looking at this, but I see a photograph quite a lot, and I think that's a really powerful thing.
Absolutely. Yes. Now, what do we do with people who can't really choose their environments? I mean, like if you work in retail or,
Yeah,
I mean, like maybe working maybe in a Bunnings that I'm not nothing against Bunnings, but
yeah,
a do-it-yourself hardware, home improvement store may not necessarily qualify for meeting beauty requirements.
absolutely. Well, I think it's things like little things. Like for me, I wear this crescent moon necklace every day. That's my thing. And I don't really wear it when I'm at home so much, but it's when I come into work, and it just feels like a little piece of me, kind of personality wise, that I can wear. And it's not ostentatious, it doesn't get in my way. It's very pragmatic. And I think it's things like, I had to work, I worked for a long time in my 20s on a cruise ship. And so the crew accommodations were, below the waterline, and you were in a very small, dark, no natural light cabin. There was a watertight door outside, so there was a very loud noise all the time. You had this hiss and hum of the machinery of the ship and the canned air, and it was pretty it was pretty just pragmatic kind of work. And we wore a uniform, which was boxy and ill-fitting and whatever. And it was little things like, you know, my own personal jewelry, what I would be allowed to wear, and taking a moment to do my hair and makeup, or even on days where you just felt like, ugh, and everything on the outside, it had to look in a certain way to be uniform because of that. I would wear beautiful lingerie or something that was for me, where it felt like that made me feel beautiful. And so it didn't matter. It wasn't for anybody else. It was just for me. And that helped kind of bring that spark in days where you really had to have that extra ingredient to help you get there, you know?
Yes. Well, which takes us neatly into the next topic, because we talked about beauty in the environment, and now we talk about our own beauty. So we can beautify ourselves, and dressing definitely, as you already said, makes an impact. If you have to wear a uniform, that's one thing. But if you can wear your own clothes, again, people often go for pragmatic, and I don't know about men. I don't know. I don't want to say I feel sorry for men, but actually I do. I mean, women have so many more choices. A man is restricted to putting a piece of colorful, you know, fabric around their neck and maybe wear some colorful socks, but that's pretty much all they can do. Now, thankfully, that's changing, but for the longest time, that was it.
Yeah. It's a very weird split, the whole gendered clothing thing. It's a very weird split because so many times, you know, I'll be photographing a woman at the studio and she'll have jeans or some kind of trousers on, and I'll say, I'll have to ask, do they have pockets? Because, you know, hands in pockets is a very natural body language that I want to emulate. And so many times, no, if they're pockets, they're fake, they're like sewn on only, they're not usable. You know, they make girls' pockets like this deep. I can't even put my phone in it, let alone half of my fingertips, you know. So men have this wonderful pragmatism with their clothing, right? Which is like, men, they can walk out the door and grab their wallet and their phone and their keys and put it in their back pocket, and they are good to go. Like, I need to take a bag and I need to take all this stuff with me because I actually don't have pockets in most of the clothes that I own. And then we have the flip side of that where, you know, women lack on the pragmatism front with their clothing, but, you know, men, like you said, maybe they're a little bit more restricted in terms of culturally, our gender constructs within our society is that I can wear a dress, I can wear a skirt, I can wear a men's suit if I want to, I can wear all of these things. Men are judged very differently, exactly wearing a dress or makeup or jewelry or a skirt or anything. I saw a great Instagram recently, and I'll have to find where it was, but it was a gentleman who was like, I think it was like an architect or something, and he was corporate within the corporate environment, and he had pledged to his wife and daughters to just be like, I am going to be a living, breathing example of a man who is bucking the norm of gendered clothing. And so he wears amazing suits and ties and jackets and like pencil skirts and high heels to work with his briefcase. And he, you know, he gets a lot of shade obviously thrown on him, but it's his way of going, well, why not? Why can't I rock this and be fabulous? Completely straight man in a happy marriage, you know, all of this kind of stuff. So, yeah, I think dressing, you know, like today I put on this beautiful silk shirt because it feels beautiful to wear, you know, and I try to choose my clothes so that there's a mixture of that pragmatism so that I can work in this and I can actually perform what I'm doing. But it also feels really beautiful to me to wear. I either like the color or the cut or the feel of the fabric on it. And, you know, I think it's nice to be able to have that idea of dressing for yourself when you can. Like, obviously, if you wear a uniform, like I said, I used to wear nice lingerie or I do my makeup or whatever. My little girl is only 5 years old and she started already to, you know, put an outfit on and then come out and say, what do you think? Do you think it looks good? And I'm trying to flip that dialogue for her to say, well, what does it matter what other people think of how you look? Like, how do you feel? Mm-hmm. Do you feel good? Do you feel happy? Do you feel comfortable? Do you feel like you look beautiful? Because if you feel that way, then that's what you should go for. So I think, you know, that external validation of looking good, it's this absolutely rubbish metric, but it's instilled, I think, from a young age, especially.
We have that at work. I mean, I know that I have never worn high heels.
Yeah.
You know, and there were corporate jobs where people literally said to me, it would be better if you wore high heels.
Yeah, like it's kind of part of the uniform, unspoken, right? Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I don't do high heels. You know, I can't walk in high heels. It's just not good for me. And, you know, I don't feel like seeing an osteopath just to make sure that I meet somebody's beauty ideal that I don't subscribe to.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the one thing that I read is, again, when we talk about perceived beauty, but we talk about, for example, symmetrical faces or something like that.
Yeah.
And people who are more conforming to these beauty ideals actually get paid at work more than people who are not.
Yeah, I think, gosh, was it in the 1990s that Naomi Wolf wrote The Beauty Myth?
Yes.
Talks about that. There's some alarming statistics in there as well to do with like women's body size in direct proportion to how many promotions that they'd had or what kind of senior position that they held. And basically, the smaller you were, the more successful within that realm that you were. Which
that depends. I would disagree. The smaller you were, the more beautiful. That depends. If you are an in EA, an executive assistant,
yeah,
then you're an asset. Then then the beauty is a bonus.
Yes.
But if you really want to make it to the top, your female beauty can actually be an obstacle.
Yeah.
Because you might not be that smart.
Yeah, it's wild. One of my repeat clients is a very successful self-made real estate agent, and like, for example, last year she was number 2 in Australia, right? So for her brand, incredible, and she's in her early 30s, and I've photographed her a couple of times now, and one of the things that she was saying, she is physically very beautiful. Like, she fell down from heaven and hit every branch on the pretty tree and then got back up and went down a second. Nobody called her on it, right? And it is one of those things. It's one of the first things you notice about her physical presence is incredibly beautiful. And she spoke about it saying, this can be a barrier for me.
Yeah.
This can be a problem because people judge me as either being kind of ditzy, like I can't possibly be intelligent and good at my work because I'm too pretty. And she said sometimes women don't want to deal with me because there's some kind of issue there or something. But she said she flagged it as being an actual issue in her professional life, right? I speak to other people within my personal branding sphere of what I do in the studio who are literally hiding from their business because of what they would conceive to be like a vanity metric, a beauty metric. Like, oh no, I don't like my teeth, I don't like my hair, I don't like my face, my whatever, my body, something about me looks weird and I can't show up because, right? But it's this crazy idea. Like, have you ever had the notion, well, you're far too brunette to be my accountant, so we clearly can't work together, right? This, like, where you would judge somebody professionally on their appearance. It's, but the stories that we tell ourselves, I suppose.
Oh, look, I know those all too well. I mean, I know that the thought I had for quite a while was, I should really lose weight before I get in front of the camera. And one of my mentors said to me, not that I would ever compare myself, but she would say, so you would ask Oprah to lose weight before you listen to her advice?
Oh, good.
And I was like, okay, you may have a point there.
Yeah.
And it was just getting over myself and just going, okay, maybe I don't conform to beauty standards, but maybe I've got something to say that people want to hear. And what is more important?
Yes, that's it, right? Your message or the vehicle with which you show up in this world.
Yeah.
I could get right into my kind of conspiracy theory, patriarchy, overlord rant here, but it's this idea of, to me, in our culture where thinner is better, smaller for a woman is better. And it strikes me as this thing where it's like, more physically weak, the better, the more acceptable you are. Like, even Serena Williams is an incredibly successful athlete. She still gets shade thrown on her for paparazzi photos when she's at the beach because, shock, she has cellulite. Like, she's a fit, strong, incredibly successful woman, and the paparazzi and the media still want to talk about the size of her ass. And you're like, it doesn't almost matter what you do. It comes back to this idea. But to me, there's a correlation between this small, for women, it's like, take up less space, make yourself small, and then we will love you, then we will promote you, then we will accept you, then we will, loud your voice. And ill.
Well, we can't leave out the men, because men can actually face similar issues. I mean, again, the pretty boy and all of that. And I have read an article recently that said that an attractive man, or a man who's perceived as attractive, can earn up to $250,000 more than somebody who is not. Wow. That's a lot of money. I would bet that the figure would be slightly different for women. I mean, what is it, 86%?
Yeah.
Is the average. Yeah, okay. But again, what I think is, this is my personal opinion, if you want to be successful at work, then it's not about conforming to beauty standards. It's about how you feel about yourself. And it's about bringing out your inner beauty and saying, this is who I truly am.
Yeah.
Contribute with purpose and with passion.
Exactly. Yeah. Success is about service to others. It is not about what you get for you, right? Yeah, it is about serving in a way which is beneficial, about bringing value, about lifting somebody up. Like, you know, for me, my little moon here is, long ago, I realized my superpower is that I reflect back the light that is already in others. Right? I allow them to see it. Like the moon, does this not self-lit? It reflects light, right? So there's this idea, I think, of being so caught up in what do I look like and how are my clothes and how is my face, that you have this energy kind of footprint of me, and it's quite repulsive energetically, right? If you just show up in full service mode and you are outwardly flowing, emitting energy, how can I help you? What can I do for you? I have this thing of value for you. People, they see your energy as beautiful, and they're not fixated on your crooked bottom teeth or your whatever the thing is that you're hung up on, you know. And you look at somebody like Vivienne Westwood, right? Like, she is what did she just turn 80 something? She just had a birthday. She's a fashion icon, incredibly successful woman that probably nobody would describe as a classic beauty, right? You know, it doesn't matter. It's got nothing to do with the way she looks. She is incredibly fabulous, incredibly successful because she shows up in service. She makes things of beauty for others, and that makes her beautiful.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you. So beauty, if anybody's who's watching is wondering whether they're beautiful or not and whether they conform or not, it doesn't matter. It's not about that. It's about, as Fiona was just saying, it's about what you bring to the table.
It is. And I think if we measure ourselves by these external metrics, you know, like the facial symmetry and, I could get some, you know, some cheek filler and some lip filler, and I could get these lifted and I could get these lifted and I could get that like sucked out, all those things, right? I mean, I dye my hair, I wear makeup, like what is real beauty? I bullshit to that notion. But there's this external kind of, you know, goalposts that we set for ourselves. And my only question with that is like, when is it enough? Because I have experienced people over and over and over again through here, because this standing in front of the camera calls out people's physical insecurities about their appearance, right? So I hear this conversation often where it's like, oh, well, when I lose 5 kilos, or when I grow my hair, or when I fix my teeth, or when I get my Botox, or when I fix my wardrobe, or when I blah, blah, blah. And then you meet that same person maybe a little bit longer down the track, and they've hit all those goalposts, but now the goalposts have shifted. And now it is, when I, and it's just this constant. So when is it enough? When is it enough? And, you know, the people that have struck me as being completely lit up within themselves in a state where they were not seeking external validation or attention or permission or support in terms of the way that their physical appearance was, is that they just simply decided, that's it. I've decided. This is it. My face isn't going to wake up tomorrow looking like Christy Turlington or whatever. And this is it. This is the vehicle I have in this life. And if I have a voice, this is the body that I have to bring it to the world. If I have a service, this is the body that will bring it out and make it real in this world. And there is something, I think, beautiful about leaning into and accepting yourself in all of your flawsomeness, right? And just moving forward, and don't let it hold you back. It'll never be enough, you know? And again, it's if you love your work, then it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Yeah. Nobody's ever turned around and said to me, you know, it would be a great photograph, but your bum's too big to be my photographer. Yeah. Never. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Okay. Well, I know we could talk about this for hours, but this would be a good finishing point. So thank you so much, Fiona. I hope everybody takes out of this that beauty is inside, yes, by all means, make sure that you feel attractive about the way you look, but it's not about conforming with stereotypes or with any kind of expectation. Do your work that you love. That's even more important. Get up in the morning with vim and vigor and go, I'm going to do work that I really enjoy. And that's what brings beauty to life. And I think that is really important. Absolutely. Beauty is your light within that you let out so others can see.
Yeah.
Share it with the world.
And as they say, you will never light up a room if you keep yourself in darkness. So bring out your inner beauty.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much, Fiona.
Thank
And
you.
thanks everybody for watching. And I'll see you next week.